The reason why I actually drink this and don't drink any other sodas is because there's no artificial, no sugar, no artificial anything in here, right? Carbonated water, stevia, leaf extract, natural flavors. Oh, there's caffeine in here. That's why I like it. So it's like late in the day right now. It's like 4:30 p.m. I made the craziest song today, man. And I always say this. And you guys have to wait for it. Blah, 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 blah. When is he gonna put out music? I like to do many things at the same time, and each thing slowly gets better each day. But man, it's coming, baby. Hey! Alright, so I want to show you guys today the 5 easy steps to mixing your beats. 5 steps to mixing your beats. These are my personal 5 steps to correctly mixing your beats. Depending on what level you're kind of at, this might be all brand new information and this is the most amazing tutorial ever. You might know all of this and be like, wow, I knew all of that. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe for great videos, vlogs, beat making, everything. And let's get into it right now. For the sake of this video, I brought up a beat that I previously made. I just mixed it enough for the video so that I could put it in the video. Pretty decent mix though, I'm not gonna lie. Here's what it sounds like. Alright, I made that beat in the Art of Beat Making video, which is also my channel trailer. That was a dope video that I took the time to make. So go check that out if you haven't checked it out yet. Step number 1, tip number 1 to perfectly, correctly mix your beat. Beats, plural, beat, plural. Number 1, I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but good sounds. Having good sounds, that means Omnisphere, that means drum kits, that means all the sounds you use. I don't want to say high quality, but just good sounds. For example, depends on what you're trying to make. There's a need for hard, harsh sounding snares, and there's also a need for really clean sounding snares. There's need for every type of sound, but you have to have good quality sounds. Like feel like a lot of times it's just like you're trying to get this clean style of beat and it has bad sounds. So right now for my sounds, I have Keyscape here for like the Rhodes piano, the Rhodes, and then I have an Omnisphere open. Omnisphere for the bass, and there's not too many sounds in here, and then Electra X for like the other synth I have in there. And then all these sounds, the G's kick, the Days 808, the Sty snare, the Escape hi-hat, the WTF hat. These are all from the Flex kit. If you want to go grab that, make sure you go grab that. All my kits are pretty decently. Yeah, that's step 1, man. It's just good sounds. Like if you want to punch a kick with an 808, you need to have a punchy kick, or else you're gonna be doing way too much stuff when you're mixing a beat. Like that's the point of having good sounds, especially drum kit sounds, is like you don't wanna have to go through and compress a kick every single time and like EQ it like a ton of times. Like that's why people make kits, is to do that stuff before and to get the right sound before, so you can just plug it in. That's why when you get Omnisphere or Keyscape, they don't just give you the bass sound and then you design them off of that. They give you a bunch of presets because of that reason, because you just want to click on something, pull it in, get the idea out, and move on to the next thing. So that's step number 1. That's tip number 1. Number 2, like I said, I kind of mixed this just for the video. Step number 2 is putting everything into a mixer track. It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised at the amount of people that don't do that. Just so you can hear it and then you can kind of visually see it. Let's see if everything's in there. And I'm just gonna send this this popping effect in there too. So everything's in there right now. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just gonna Control L sends everything to a mixer. Click on Days 808. Control L. It's already in a mixer. It's already in a channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. But I'm just pressing Control L just to get them to say the name on it so we can see what they are. This is a recording that I did not end up recording with my vocals. What is 10? 10 is where I was recording the vocals. So let me move everything over just so you can see it. If you hold Alt when you're doing that, Alt, left arrow moves everything over so you can get them nice and organized. As you can see here, we perfectly have everything colored in, that one's not right. We have all the sounds colored here, not too many sounds, 9 different tracks here. Here are all the drum sounds. Here are all the instrument slash like vocal sounds that I used. Omnisphere bass, so you can see everything. Everything's nice and organized, and we can start our mix. All right, step number 3. This is the most important step, in my opinion. Well, they're all important, but one of the most important steps is leveling and the effects. So what I mean by leveling, if you don't know what leveling is just the volumes of the mixer track, the velocities on the actual piano roll, and then actually on the channel rack, the velocities there. They all kind of hit differently. Turning the velocities up on the actual piano roll will make the sound hit harder. That's why I turn up all my kicks here. So let's go through each sound. The kick, unless you have a bad kick, you're not going to need to add too much to it. Maybe an EQ or something like that. But the G's kick is solid. It's already done like that, so you don't need to do anything. You can skip that. The Daze 808 2.0. Sometimes on my other kits, I need to add distortion. This particular 808 has a built-in distortion preset that I put on it. But if you wanted to add distortion, you can come up here. Oops, definitely don't add a soft clipper. And add a fruity distortion. Maybe turn this amount knob down, turn the mix down. I usually just turn the mix down, honestly, depending on the style. Going back to leveling, usually with leveling, I keep my kick around minus 6 dB. I usually keep the 808 just under that, depending on the style. Like I said, there's no right or wrong to this. As much as people want to think there's a right or wrong to it, there is no right or wrong. Do whatever you want. I like to keep my snare pretty loud. It's at around the same as the kick. The kick and the snare is what makes your head nod like this, especially the snare. The hi-hats, sometimes they're loud, sometimes they're quiet. It depends on the beat. They're around minus 15 here. This is just a percussion noise, the WTF hat. That depends on what you're trying to go for. If you want the percussion noise kind of behind the beat, just kind of like underneath the beat, or if you want it to stand out a little bit more, it just depends on the beat. Let's go into the sounds and show you what I did here with the Rhodes piano. First thing I did was go to Gross Beat presets and went to momentary and then half speed. Pretty common thing, you guys have seen this. Next thing I did was a thing that I actually kind of just figured this out on my own. I'm sure people have done it before, but if you have 4 chords that do this and they don't have any notes, it's just kind of like dun, bum, bum. Go to Gross Beat, basic 7, delete. I should really save this preset, huh? Go to this and then kind of pull this down. So at the end, it kind of has a it gives it a cool effect. Just like little things like that is what make a beat better. More importantly, let's go to the EQ, because none of that really affects the mix too much. The EQ, because there's only a couple sounds in here, like that Rhodes piano is kind of the main part, so I only really need to leave a little bit of room for the 808. Well, what I did here is you go down to presets, go down to 40 Hertz cut, and it will cut like this, and you can bring it over, and then from there it's more just like. So I kind of wanted to bring out the little ding in the high frequencies a little bit more, so I brought this up. I think at the time it was a little too harsh for me around that middle range. I wanted it a little bit softer there, so I brought it down and then put a little bit of reverb, a little bit of extra reverb on the Rhodes, and then that was it. That type of stuff takes practice. That type of stuff takes a long time to like figure out how to blend everything. But I just wanted to show you what I did because I thought it would help. All right, the next step, and also a very important step. When I learned this, it changed my beats essentially. So you have your whole mix perfect, right? You have all the tracks perfect, and you're listening to it. You're like, man, this sounds good. Nothing's too loud. Nothing's too quiet. It mixes good. You export it. It sounds amazing. The next thing is, if you're trying to send beats to people, or if you're trying to put beats on YouTube, Instagram, or whatever, you just want to listen to them in your car and they sound good. Soft clipper, fruity soft clipper, put it at the bottom, put it below. I like to have my mix between 3 dB and 0 dB. And if you're like, Kyle, bro, whenever I do that, I can't hear a single thing. You need to get yourself an audio interface, my friend, so that you can turn up the volume without having to turn up the mix. If the kick goes a little bit above 0 and you have some crazy sounds in there, like honestly it's fine. Like the soft clipper is gonna clip it in a nice smooth way. If the kick don't have any crazy melodies going over there, but I like to have it between -3 dB and -0 dB. And then from there, you can mess with the threshold. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the first thing I do is put the post kind of above. You can see this little line. I think this little line represents kind of where the song is, where the song was, or like the max. I like to put the post kind of like, what is it right now? 80%. I like to put the post gain like 86%. I'm looking at right now, like a little bit above 0 dB type of thing, and then kind of bring this threshold down. And I don't know why, but I've been just doing this so that it comes back to the corner. I don't really know anything crazy about this, honestly. So, -10 dB maybe. And whatever soft clipper does, so this is the threshold's at like -10, -11 dB. Maybe that's too much, maybe that's too little. Worry about how it sounds, that's the important thing. Don't get too like safe with it all. Because if it still sounds good, then it sounds good. It doesn't matter what the hell you're doing, to be honest. Let's be honest here. We're trying to get it to sound good, not to look good on FL Studio. So sometimes I bring the threshold down a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. You just want it to be loud, and it kind of, I think it brings up everything without clipping the kick too much, and without, I don't know how it does it, but shout out to Fruity Soft Clipper. Next thing I do after that, because that kind of gets everything at a good volume without crazily clipping or compressing the kick. Next thing I do is open Fruity Limiter. I'm not really big into like external plugins besides like sound plugins. I need to get more into it, I guess. They're pretty solid. I don't have any complaints. They're pretty solid like plugins, the FL Studio stock plugins. Shout out to FL Studio. So I go to Fruity Limiter. Turn all this stuff down: the attack, the release, the sustain. You don't want any of that stuff. For what we're doing here, you don't need that. We're just trying to make it louder. So turn the ceiling up. If you can see here, you can look at the visual. This is 0 dB. This top line is 0 dB. So if you turn the ceiling up, it allows more room here, so it's not going to be crushing at 0 dB. Turn the gain up. So now you can see it's a little bit over 0 dB. You can also see it here if you look at this area. I usually have it at 1.5 to 2. That's been my area lately. To get a nice loud sound. You just want a nice loud sound. It brings the melodies up. It brings the snare up. Like I said, use your ears. There's no perfectly correct way of doing it in 2019. I don't care what you say. But this is the way I do it. Use my ears. And then just bring the saturation down a little bit. The saturation will just bring it below 0 dB, as you can see now. If you touch the saturation even just a tiny bit, it will bring it below 0 dB. I just literally just do one little thing on the saturation. I don't mess around with it too much. I just need to have it below 0 dB. And as long as the kick is still punching hard and everything sounds good. Step number 5, I hate to say it, but step number 5 is to just practice. This stuff is not like, there's no right or wrong way to do any of this. This is why engineers have jobs and do what they do, because it takes a lot of practice and like listening with your ears, comparing it to other songs, and just like practice. It's literally like another skill, and I feel like it holds people back sometimes because they don't want to learn how to mix, and they just want to try to learn how to make beats. But they do go hand in hand, and your mix doesn't have to be perfect, in my opinion. If you're making beats and you want to be a producer, I think it just has to be good enough, and it definitely helps just make what you're doing sound more professional and sound better, and it's more enjoyable. And especially if you have dope beats on top of that, having a dope beat and a dope mix is always amazing. So that was it. I hope you learned something. Alright guys, so thank you guys for watching this video. I just did a podcast right now. If you haven't listened to the podcast ever, make sure you check out Kyle Beats podcast. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Hope you guys got to learn something. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. So thank you guys for watching this. Until the next one, I'll see you guys in the next one.